Y'all disgust me. Almost as much as Viserys' face does. Just because he done gone on to glory, everyone's gonna act like he Mr. Perfect now. And Queen Alicent gotta catch all the bullets for him. But if there is one thing I am going to do today, it is defend the honor of Miss Alicent Hightower / Targaryen. I don't really know how the naming thing works, but still, because she's catching a lot of smoke on behalf of Viserys the Incompetent, and I ain't going for that no more. Hey, Kev BK Beloved here, covering sports among other things on this channel. This being obviously among other things. If you like what you're listening to, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Back to Viserys. Hey, buddy, if you have a secret that is possibly world ending, you think you might want to share that with the class? For y'all that don't remember the dream or the Song of Ice and Fire, here it is from season 1.
Our histories. They tell us that Aegon looked across the Blackwater from Dragonstone, saw a rich land ripe for the capture. But ambition alone is not what drove him to conquest. It was a dream. And just as Rhaenys foresaw the end of Valyria, Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. Just to begin with a terrible winter, gusting out of the distant north.
I, Rickon Stark, Lord of Winterfell.
Aegon saw absolute darkness riding on those winds, and whatever dwells within will destroy the world of the living. When this great winter comes, Rhaenyra, all of Westeros must stand against it. And if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. A king or queen, strong enough to unite the realm against the cold and the dark. Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire.
He knew about the damn White Walkers that came in Game of Thrones, and the only person he told is Rhaenyra. So when he died, only one person in the whole realm knew about this dream. You didn't think that was important to share? How do you keep this information to yourself? If you remember the season finale of last season, Rhaenyra brings up Aegon's dream to Daemon, and he has no idea what she's talking about. Daemon was his heir for a decade. Rhaenyra learned it her first day on the job. You didn't think this one was worth a small council meeting? That, hey guys, so Aegon, the guy whose chair I'm sitting in, he has this dream that we all might die if we don't stay unified. Now we can proceed with the rest of the meeting. But me personally, that's the way I would have went. So how does this tie into episode 3 that we just watched for season 2? Happy you asked. So we get to the final scene of the episode where Rhaenyra and Alicent, this beautiful scene in the crypt where it's the parallels to where they met in season 1. After Rhaenyra lost her mom, she's learned to pray, they're crying. Beautiful scene. And don't worry, we'll deep dive into the scene a little bit later, but for right now, we're focused on Viserys. The conclusion of that scene was Alicent realizing that Viserys the Decrepit wasn't talking about Aegon, their drunk son, was talking about Aegon the Conqueror. But for all y'all that are calling Alicent stupid because of it, how would she have known that? Viserys told one person. Rhaenyra was literally the only person in the world that would have known what the hell he was talking about. So once they finally clear up the understanding, another thing Alicent's catching hell for that I don't understand at all. What did y'all want Alicent to do after that? Did y'all think she was going to be able to go to the small council and be like, oopsie, my bad, guys. Thought Viserys said one thing, he meant another. I guess we got to give Rhaenyra her crown now. No, it's too late to squash the beef at this point. We got decapitated babies. Rhaenyra's son was turned to dragon food. What did y'all think was going to happen? And Alicent, before this conversation, has had numerous conversations with her dad, Otto, about how war is inevitable at this point. Dating from episode 9 of last season. So she's accepted that this war is going to happen. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra is still holding on to this dream that only she knows about, which is why everyone around her is really pissed that she has not gone to war yet. And she thought she was going to be able to pull up on her, dressed as a scepter with a knife on her. And they was going to be like, all right, Rhaenyra, our bad. Here's the Iron Throne with nothing in return. Just dummy. Speaking of which, that's another thing Viserys did wrong. Still on your head, Viserys. Apparently, not teaching Rhaenyra how diplomacy works. I'm not sure if this was included in the Raven that told her that this is how Viserys died. She sent Viserys over to House Baratheon with no terms, no nothing. Just, hey, your dad signed this oath. Honor this oath. What? And she thought that was gonna work. Now, is that why Viserys ended up dying? That might be a stretch, but it damn sure didn't help. Just sent him over there with nothing but vibes and truth. And then she went to the crypt to go see Alicent with nothing but vibes and truth and expected a different results. Oh, and a dagger to potentially kill Alicent if she wasn't with that meat and shit, and then didn't think beyond that, as Alicent pointed out, and then was like, you know what, you're right, my fault, gang. Let's start from the beginning. And that right there is the problem with being on the side of right, or what you believe to be morally right. I know how that sounds, but follow me here. You think the truth is enough. It is not, buddy. This is war. The war has already started, and you're the last person trying to stop it from happening. The truth is not enough at this point. Clearly, everyone's been taking my Slim Charles reference from last week, and that's fine, but I'll make it again. To quote the great Slim Charles from The Wire,
"If it's a lie, then we fight on that lie. But we gotta fight."
And right now, they're fighting on that lie. But back to Rhaenyra's whole game plan of my side is the truth, therefore I should win. Emma Darcy and Olivia Cook were doing an interview of the thousands of interviews they've done these past couple weeks. I can't even remember which one, where she said this right here. And I laughed about it, but upon realization of that scene, that really was her whole game plan for this entire season so far. Was like, daddy promised it to me, give me my throne. Nah, beloved, no, that's over now. It's a wrap on that. Speaking of those interviews, so I can get to the more positive feelings about this episode, because I actually love this episode of House of Dragons. It's my favorite so far of the entire series. I'm so happy this scene exists, because Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy has been on this press run, like I mentioned before, where they're just showing incredible chemistry. And in my opinion, they're the two best actors on this show. So after showing us all this chemistry, so much so that people on social media are starting to think that they might be coupling, which, by the way, I'm gonna need y'all to turn the horny down just a little bit. Just a little, not much, but just a little bit. People can have nice friendship without coupling. I promise you they can. Anyways, to go the entire season without them having a single scene together, to me, would have been criminal. But thankfully, they realized that, and we get this beautiful scene because of it. Another thing that's one of my favorite parts about it is the parallels that it draws to season 1, and the fact that it would not exist if the creators of this TV show did not take certain liberties with the original book. Alicent and Rhaenyra being the same age as growing up as friends did not exist in the book. Aegon's dream did not exist in the book. This scene is a direct result of two of those things. Without it, this scene doesn't happen. And it's incredible. All right, to summarize so we can get to the rest of the episode. It's not Alicent's fault that Viserys decided to keep a world-ending secret to himself. It has nothing to do with her. She heard Aegon, prince who was promised, and thought she was being a good wife. Viserys probably should have taught Rhaenyra, hey, you can't just be walking up into random people's crypts and expecting them to acquiesce to your plans. That's not really how this whole diplomacy thing works. But all in all, I love the scene. Obviously, only great art could make you feel as passionate as I felt at the beginning of this segment here. Now for the rest of the show. We started with the last scene, so let's run it back to the beginning. And I think this is another thing where the creators of this show, specifically the director of this episode, I might butcher this, I'm so sorry, Gita Vasant Patel, starting the episode with the first proxy war that we've seen so far because of this conflict. For y'all unfamiliar with the term proxy war, think Vietnam War for a real life parallel. So the proxy war in the show is between the, I'm probably going to butcher this name too, Brackens and the Blackwoods, who they've been beefing for centuries, but now that they have the excuse of Team Aegon versus Team Rhaenyra, they could finally go at it. Real life parallel. There was conflict inside of Vietnam for years before it became Russia on the communist side and the United States on the capitalism/democracy side. The Cold War just gave the Vietnamese an excuse to go at each other. And to show the direct result of what essentially came down to a misunderstanding from a dying old man, the real life consequences of that. They didn't even have to show the fighting. That's kind of not the point. The point is, look at all these bodies all over this battlefield. So much so that I'm definitely sure I can't show this on YouTube or else it's getting taken down. All because Viserys didn't want to share this secret with the rest of the class. So I thought bookending episode 3 that way was brilliant. Next, that takes us to the Arryk funeral. I promise I'm not going to go deep breakdown scene by scene. I'm trying to move this along a little bit, where they're burying the Erik Arryk twins. But the thing I want to point out from this scene is Rhaenys, when she's talking about preventing a war, it reminded me of a scene she had from season 1 during the tournament, during the pilot episode, funny enough, where she knows how the men in the realm are, where she says the exact quote These knights are as green as summer's grass. None of them have seen real war. Their lord sent them to the tourney with a fistful of steel and balls full of seed. ... It's a marvel that war didn't break out at first blood. And I've seen a lot of you comparing Rhaenys to Queen Olenna from the original Game of Thrones. Guys,
You here to seduce me?
A little obvious, perhaps.
Oh, no, please. Seduce away. It's been so long. Though I rather think it's all for naught. What happens when the non-existent bumps against the decrepit?
come on, let's stop playing with Queen Olenna. She had bars, all the bars. Anyways, and that's really showing here because every male is trying to go to war. The only people who aren't are the women of this show. Speaking of males that are trying to go to war, the new Hand of the King, Lord Hand, Sir, Lord Commander, Criston Cole, whatever all his titles are together now, him had the meanest case of imposter syndrome before the council meeting because he knows what we know, which is, buddy, you have no business being in that chair. But he can't say that out loud, so he had to go on in there. Went into the small council meeting, proposed his little act of war. Hey, let's go take over Harrenhal and the Riverlands, key to the war and all that. And before leaving out on his mission, he thought, you know what I need to do? I need to give myself the worst haircut in the history of Westeros. I don't know if he did it himself. I don't know if they got a barber in the Red Keep. Whoever did that needs to be fired. We gotta start getting some black barbers into the Red Keep. Sly Huncho, Vic Blends, whatever one of these Instagram barbers we got, start sending them over to Westeros. While we're at it, start sending some locticians over so that the Valerians can start having some retwists. This is ridiculous. Last few things I want to point out from this episode, the importance of whores in Westeros. I don't think whores get enough credit because apparently in order to be a whore, not only do you have to be incredible sexually, you have to be an amateur psychologist. Think about all the deep and emotional scenes we got from these series, Game of Thrones included. A lot of them involve whores. A lot of them involve some, I know we call them sex workers now, but in the show they're called whores. Deal with it. So we get the scene where Aegon is taking the young squire through the brothel and it's like, yeah, we finna let you get it wet for the first time. It's all me because I'm the king. It's what I do. We're gonna get back to the bar scene in a second. Runs up on Aemon being all nuzzled up into his little mommy madam, just like we saw him last episode. Side note to the creators of the show, please stop showing us Aemon's naked body. I beg of you. I'm sure when Ewan Mitchell signed up for the show, he signed a nudity clause because it's HBO. It's Game of Thrones. They make everybody sign the joint because you never know when you go out to show your cheeks on HBO. But bro, we get it. We understand. I'm sure they got a robe in a brothel somewhere. Cover him up, please. I'm sick of seeing it. Please, I'm begging you. Where he getting laughed out the room by his older brother, and I know everybody's giving Aegon shit, but if my older brother saw me in the fetal position, nuzzled up against the whore, I imagine that's probably the reaction I'm gonna get to. Just saying. All right, so back to the bar scene where two absolutely hilarious things happen for me. First of which, my man Ulf walks into the bar in like a Westerosi version of the beginning of the movie Belly, where he's dapping everybody up on the way into the bar before sitting down and offering up the tale of, you know, I'm related to royalty, right? In exchange for a beer. Now, this could be a cultural thing, but I've seen many a crackheads tell me some variation of, you know, Jay-Z, my cousin, right? You know, me and Jeff Bezos actually best friends. We grew up together, but we fell out of contact. Some version of that story. So that's what that reminded me of. But due to book spoilers I won't get into, he's telling the truth. And in the middle of him telling his truth, our guy, King Aegon, walks into the bar and is like, hey, shots on me, courtesy of the crown. And I know Aegon's done some questionable things in the past, but that is a kingly thing that I would do. If I am king of any city, any country, if I walk into a bar, shots on me. That is a great way to get the favor of the people. I know if I see Aegon walk into the bar, we drinking today. It's a great thing for a ruler. All right, we're gonna try and do the quick hitters. First up, Baela Targaryen. There's a lot of bastards running around Westeros. Let me tell you who wasn't one. Baela Targaryen. Hey, Daemon, go ahead, throw Maury's number away. You don't need to know nothing else. From that scene alone, where you could see the joy in that little girl's face the moment she saw Criston Cole and them in the field, and she was like, oh yeah, mine. The moment she seen him, she didn't even think twice about it. It went straight down on him, And the part of her mother, Lena, that came up and was like, maybe I shouldn't set this whole forest on fire as I'm swooping down. So, love Baela. Since we're on the subject of Daemon's children, Rhaenyra sends the Aegon and Viserys away with a bunch of dragon's eggs, and Rhaena, who, as we know from the first season, is very insecure about not having a dragon. So she was feeling some type of way about being sent away, not knowing that this is actually a very important mission you are being sent with. The whole future of the Targaryen family is in your hands. And again, book spoiler, I won't get into more of why this is a more important mission. But one thing that the creators did spoil is that those dragon eggs that were sent ended up being the dragon eggs that Daenerys ended up getting in the future that led to the 3 dragons she had in Game of Thrones. So that's awesome. Last thing, Luigi's Mansion Daemon version, where he went and took over Harrenhal in about 0.5 seconds. So Daemon flies over to Harrenhal on the back of Caraxes, and this is around the time where dragon shows up, people submit. You ain't really got nothing for the dragon. That's the big joker. So he's walking around all timid around Harrenhal. It's all dark, dimly lit. They ain't paid a light bill in Harrenhal. They living bad over there. He knocks out the one guard that he has to, walks in to the Harrenhal lords having their dinner, and is like, I'm taking over the castle. My man was like, you right. Came across the table, bent the knee, pledged his fealty, offered him a meal. And when Daemon rightfully asked, hey, y'all know y'all got a lord that's on the king's council, right? And they said, fuck that lord. We think he killed his pops and his brother. We don't rock with him. Fuck him and his clubfoot. And we'll tie that to Larys becoming a part of Aegon's small council. Another thing Viserys did wrong was not having a Master of Whispers. Because think about how important that Lord Varys was in the original Game of Thrones. How you not gonna have a Varys on your team? You know how quickly he would have found out that his hand and his then Lord Commander of the City Watch or the King's Guard, whatever Harwin Strong is, and technically his son-in-law, but not the point, actually were burned down, and the magical castle didn't just spontaneously combust if he had one Master of Whispers. Damn it, Viserys. Anyways, Aegon decided, hey, you telling me shit. You might be lying, which he's too dumb to realize, but it's not the point. You be telling me shit. Go ahead, hop on my council. Is he being manipulated? Probably, but there's nobody who has that access to Aegon that isn't trying to manipulate him. So hey, at least get the one that's effective. Anyways, enough out of me. Great episode for episode 3. I'm loving where this series is going, and I think we finally got enough of the pretenses out of the way. So now that we're 3 episodes in, we got 5 left, and the next one is literally called The Dance of the Dragons. I think it's go time now. I think now we're going to war. No more pretenses, no more plotting, no more scheming. Aegon's getting his wish. We're not fighting with ink no more. We're spilling blood. Until next time, thank you for listening.